and welcome everyone. I'm very excited to start this discussion and hear the thoughts and insights of two event technology industry leaders who are making a tremendous impact on the event industry landscape. They're both founders of two startups that have brought us truly innovative event technology solutions. Matthijs Otto, founder of NetworkTables, and Kiril Seravall, co-founder and CEO of Agorify. We'll discuss their journey in the event industry, their future plans, their insights, and their predictions. So to start with, can you please tell us more about yourself and your startup? Matthijs, would you please start?
Yeah, I'm the founder of NetworkTables, and we started this in 2015. Started as a round table seating tool for basically booking your seat into a table instead of an airplane, and seeing with whom you'll be meeting at an event. And then we expanded this over the years to full matchmaking solution where we mainly focus on networking. That's where we're very good at. One-on-one meetings, roundtable discussions, session recommendations, stuff like that. And also now what we're very focused on is communities. We're really focused on always-on events where people meet throughout the whole year and extend that networking opportunities after they went to an event at multiple momentums.
And what about you, Kiril?
Thank you, Christina. So I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Agorify. Agorify started as a check-in and on-demand badge printing solution. So basically, when attendees arrive to the venue, they can print their name badges on demand. Then we continued adding more features to the system. We built an event app. We added some lead retrieval and lead generation tools to it, and then increase it to building a fully functional event app with agendas and networking capabilities. And then, of course, we have some live streaming and hybrid technology added to this as well.
Thank you. Can guys tell me what inspired you to create tools that help with the digitalization of on-site events? Matthijs?
For us, it's not really the digitalization, but it's more the preparation of events. So before you go to an event, what inspired me is that we were exhibiting ourselves. We paid thousands of euros, and it was very hard for us to schedule meetings with relevant people. There was nothing or simple match like scheduling system, but nobody would get back to us. So maybe we got like 2-3 meetings scheduled, and that's really not enough if you spend thousands of euros. And I was just annoyed as an exhibitor ourselves that it was not being made easier for the ones that pay most for going to events or sponsoring events. So I thought it could all be way easier. And it all started with that. That's inspired. That's why I was inspired to start NetworkTables.
And Kiril, what's your story?
It's quite similar. But so basically, I was working in a conference event company, and one of my first roles there was basically helping them finding a simpler way of printing badges when attendees arrive. So before Agorify, what we did was basically we pre-printed everything and then we handed them out manually. So attendees came and then they were like, "What's your name?" And we tried to find their name in our big, huge badge pack that we had. And we were discussing this, and there has to be an easier way because it was very stressful. And this is basically the first thing any attendee when they come to an event will experience, the check-in, right? So it has to be good. And it works when you're, let's say, less than 100 people. But as our events grew, we came 200, 300, 400, 500. It's not possible anymore. So I tried to find a solution that could help us with this. And anything that I found was very, very expensive. It was purely made for enterprise events, huge ones. So in many cases, we even got a no because we were too small. We were not interesting. So we decided to build it ourselves. And that was how Agorify was actually became a company. So we started in using it internally, and then we made it into its own company.
And what are the biggest challenges that you have faced throughout this journey? Matthijs, would you go first?
Throughout the journey from start until now, you mean?
Yeah.
Good question. I think that for event organizers, they always want something new, yeah, to implement. So in the start, it's hot, and everybody tries, and then they forget about the value they create. So imagine you provided thousands of meetings and was very successful. 1 year later, 2 years later, people forget the value because it was working. So I think one of the challenges that we see over the years is that people forget the value they create with the tools they use. I think it's very important for them to be reminded, also for new people when they join and transfer a task to new people, to be reminded why were things implemented, why do you do things different, and what works and what didn't work in the past. I think that's very important. And one of the most challenging things is for us is to always stay 3 years ahead. That's what we're trying to do. I mean, in 2017, we had virtual event tool. Now we're focused very much on communities because we think the market is moving there. And that's also what our customers expect, because it's not only about the tool, it's also for them about the party they work with, to come up with new ideas. So they continuously want to be fed with new business ideas, even with new business models, besides just a tool. I think we have a bigger responsibility now than just being a software tool.
And Kiril, which are the challenges that you have faced?
I can say that I also have the same experience in many cases. It's of course there's always these development questions, what to focus on, and so on. And I think if I look back, one of the main and biggest challenges we had was because we're quite new company. We started 2018 late, so actually the company is built December 2000, so 2019. So we were quite early on focusing only on on-site events, because that was what people were doing at that point. Virtual events didn't basically exist at that point, at least not in the sense that we have them today. So we were very new, and we started to getting some customers, and then the COVID came, right? And we had to decide what to do with our platform. And the decision to either because the question was, how long do we think physical events will be on hold, right? But we decided to focus on building support for virtual events as well. So building this live streaming and all these virtual capabilities that is necessary to have in a virtual event was a big question and a very challenging one to decide if we should jump on to and support, which we did, of course, and I'm super happy with that decision. But I would say that is probably the toughest one we had to decide upon, and it was never very sure. We were very scared for a while there.
Matthijs, what are the most common mistakes you see event organizers doing in terms of event technology? Please share with us some horror stories of times you have seen organizers not using event technology properly.
Not using event technology properly.
Yeah, mistakes that they are doing.
It's a good question. I mean, I think we try, that's why we are there as a company, to make them use the technology in the right way. One of the biggest mistakes is not listening to companies like us, buying the solution and then figuring out everything yourself. I think there's very valuable knowledge in companies like us or yours, because the event organizers, maybe they do tens of events or hundreds of events. Well, maybe we do thousands. So we can see from all of the data or all the events we do, we can see what works and what doesn't work. Of course, we're not there in person ourselves always, but at least we know very good what we're doing, because we do it for 8 years and we do it so many times. So I think event organizers should also try to use software as a service solutions, their knowledge besides just their product. So I think horror stories is where you know that something doesn't work, people just immediately start executing, and while you tell them doesn't work, they will do, and then later on, they're going to say, yeah, the solution doesn't work. Well, it's because maybe the concept that you made, but you need to start with the concept. For example, with networking, you need to come up with a good networking concept. And if that concept is already broken, it doesn't matter what tool you use, you're going to fail because the concept is broken. Make sense? So, I don't really have big horror stories. I think one of the biggest things that we saw during, for example, pandemic was the lack of experience and knowledge about how to run virtual events and what comes with it. Also, how to make it more engaging. There's a lot of people just started moving into, for example, streams. While it's more than just that, it's also about how you bring the right people together. And also the fact that a lot of people, thousands or hundreds of thousands, all go in at the same second, which could cause a lot of crashes to servers if you don't adapt to it. I think that's something that we learned ourselves. We adapted our infrastructure to in COVID times, but now that's over, let's say. But we are ready for that again. But for in-person events, I think I have a good one actually. So you can have thousands of meetings. And for example, we had one time the case that for us it's very important that people have a good signing on the event, where to go to. So imagine you have 15 meeting tables. You have 20 meetings per table, but you don't put a number on those tables. Yeah, well, that's going to be a total mess. So you can have a very good tool and have 1,000 meetings scheduled. But then if you just put logos on the tables instead of numbers, because this is how you used to do it, but now the event is bigger and has, instead of 5 tables, 50, then obviously the people aren't going to find the logo because they're looking for a number, right? So I think these kind of small things, they're very important.
Yeah, cool. I would say I have probably some of the horror stories as well. But one thing I have noticed is that when new customers come, there needs to be a very clear information regarding that learning new systems also requires time, right? In some cases, I've seen that they might search for technologies just a couple of days before their event and thinking that they can start using it directly and not putting the effort of actually learning the system and so on. That is one thing that I've noticed. But I would more say that not horror stories about companies or organizers using technology. Otherwise, I would more say I've seen events where you could actually use technology that would help you. Has been a more horror story for me, at least. For example, going to these events where they have thousands of attendees, but they're still doing stuff manually with the check-in and there's no event app for you to find information. Instead, everything is on paper and stuff like that. That is, at least from my perspective, more of a horror story than events that are actually trying to incorporate some technology and using that. That is what I would say with horror stories, especially from my experience that I've had.
And according to you, what is the value the technology brings to on-site events? Matthijs?
I think it can break or make on-site event. I mean, when I have no networking opportunities pre-scheduled, that is a very shitty way of entering the event, because I know that I'm gonna need to fight for my leads as an exhibitor, for example. The other way around, if I attend an event as a delegate and I enter and I'm not really sure where to find a certain solution or where to find an interesting knowledge session and who's gonna attend, then I'm walking around like a headless chicken. We say in Dutch, kips on the cob, but that it makes it all more complex. It makes people stress as well. Like, I mean, you have the extrovert and the introvert. I think the introvert are maybe stressed because they don't know what to do. So they just go with the flow and they end up, in the end of the day, going to sessions, meeting people that may be not relevant to them. because they just went with the flow and they were not prepared. So I think adding technology to help people prepare for their on-site event or the weeks in advance, I think is a big win. I think every event should do it. The events that don't do it yet, they should really consider it or start trying with it, because I think it's a very important thing, especially nowadays. Now that people are more precise about what events they attend and what not, and they have lower budgets and less time to travel, you need two things to show that there's value on your on-site event before your event takes place. So I think using technology to do that is a very good thing. I think that's what technology is for.
Kiril, what are your thoughts on this?
In short, I would say that technology it increases or improves the experience in general for events. It also helps out with the execution of events. But then the value can be different for the different stakeholders of an event. For exhibitors, there's much easier to assess with networking capabilities, with lead generation. For organizers, there's a lot of admin that would be much easier with technology. Easier to have also control of your event, because you can see what is happening, how people are experiencing it, how the check-in flow is going. For attendees, there's easier ways of getting information or experiencing the event, finding people to talk to. So the value is different for these different stakeholders, but in general, I would say that it's the experience that you would definitely increase, and the execution would be much more easier with technology.
Thank you. And now let's talk more about the future. Matthijs, how do you see NetworkTables evolving in the future?
We will focus on two things. To provide always-on events with an event community platform that makes events always on. That's one. So it's what our tools was born for, scheduling, but then throughout the whole year, one place. So associations, they use us for scheduling their events in person and virtual. And second, topic-based matchmaking. So not matchmaking based on the attendee list and just clicking and scheduling and finding people that never get back to you, but actually getting people committed on a topic. And this way, make it more available for people to see who is interested in what topic and schedule meetings in an easier way. Make sense?
Yeah. And what about you, Kiril? How do you see Agorify evolving in the future?
I think this question is hard, but we have, of course, our internal roadmap. We want to build stuff, but I think in general, what I try to, and what we try with Agorify, is to keep the company dynamic, following our customers that we have, what their needs are. Then of course we can't do all the things that are wished upon, but in general, making it easier to use Agorify, making it more adaptable, more customizable, so it fits more different events, because every event is different. So the more flexible a system is, I think the better it can be. But in the future, who knows? I believe for the industry, especially on-site events, maybe AR is something that we see more, especially for the bigger tech events. That might be something that is interesting to see how that evolves, but it's nothing that will be very high, more of a hyped maybe feature. But I believe that, at least what I've seen, it's more a technology that has been brought up more often now.
Actually, that was the next question about what are your predictions for the event technology industry for this year in general?
For me?
Yeah, you can continue then, Matthijs.
I think event technology, we need to combine things. I think we as a company were very focused on one specific thing, which is networking and communities. We also do a lot of things not. So we do a lot of things like ticketing, stuff like that, event apps. We try to stay away from because we want to really focus on doing one thing very, very well. And that's why I think embedded matchmaking, for example, embedding tools such as NetworkTables into a tool like Agorify, is the future. Is where parties work together, and that event organizers just do not look for all-in-one solution, which never is best in all, but they look for what do I really need based on my events. If it's really networking events, okay, you need a networking solution. If it's just a public event where no networking is, you don't need that, for example. So you adjust your event needs and then look for the tools you need and combine them instead of trying to do everything in one place. Of course, you can bundle everything together in one place, but I think it's good to combine tools and integrate. And that's what we see now, big trend actually from our side. That more and more people, they have a platform, have something, but they lack, for example, one-on-one meeting features or roundtable features, and they really ask us for NetworkTables embedded pricing model almost, where they use solutions like us and integrate it, like translation services, video calling room services, all these things they try to combine in their platform and combine this way best tools together. That's where the future is for event technology.
Kiril, you mentioned that according to you, there will be more AR incorporated in the event industry. Can you elaborate more on that concrete or?
And that was just something top of my head. That is something I've seen more people talking about, like the hot new trend with the events. Maybe I don't have any experience of it. I don't know how it will be involved, but I believe it's something that we will see more, and it will be more accessible, probably. But in general, what I believe for this for event technology, I also agree. I see more and more collaborations between companies that are providing event technology. But in general, what I also see is that companies are more acceptable towards the technology. At least my experience before COVID was that it was still something that few had, whereas today it is almost the default. You need to have some type of technology for your conference or your trade show or conflicts or whatever you're doing. And I believe that is something that we will continue to see. A lot of new young people have started in this industry, and the more young people usually also tend to be more technology, let's say, interested more in technology than maybe the older generation. So that is what I see. More tech for most events.
And well, that was the last questions. The last question, we covered quite a lot of interesting topics about the event industry, and I'm sure that many event organizers will find your insights and your event solutions, NetworkTables and Agorify beyond useful. Thank you so much for taking the time to participate in this discussion, and looking forward to another one in the future to come. Thank you.